This is
Milla Dallas Multipass.
What you just heard isn't just a throwaway line from a sci-fi movie. It's the battle cry of one of cinema's most bizarre cult classics. A film that shouldn't have worked, but became legendary anyway. The Fifth Element wasn't just chaos wrapped in neon and couture. It was a passion project that took over 2 decades to make, destroyed marriages, nearly burned down sets, and gave us performances so outrageous they're still quoted today. But behind every glittering costume and explosive set piece lies a secret darker and weirder than anything you see on screen. From forbidden love affairs that broke up the director's marriage to weapons that actually worked and nearly killed the cast, The Fifth Element's production was more dangerous than the movie itself. I'm about to reveal 20 shocking secrets that will change how you see this sci-fi masterpiece forever. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll understand why critics called it too weird to succeed. But audiences made it a global phenomenon anyway. Secret number 1, the teenage escape fantasy that became a $90 million blockbuster. Let's start with the most shocking truth of all. The Fifth Element began as the desperate fantasy of a lonely 16-year-old boy trapped in rural France. Luc Besson wasn't some Hollywood prodigy with connections. He was isolated, bored, and had 3 choices as he saw it: become an alcoholic, kill himself, or escape with his pen. He chose the pen, and what started as a teenage daydream would take 22 years to reach the screen. Besson wrote the first draft at 16 and didn't direct it until he was 38. For over 2 decades, he carried these characters, Lilu, Zorg, the Mondoshaans, in his head, refining their world while the real world told him it was too weird to film. This wasn't just any screenplay. It was a 400-page galaxy-spanning epic that was supposed to be a trilogy. Besson had mapped out entire alien civilizations, created languages, drawn the cities, and written backstories for characters who would never make it past background extras. Secret number 2, the studio rejection that nearly killed the project. Here's where it gets shocking. When Besson first pitched The Fifth Element in 1991, every major studio said the same thing. Too weird, too expensive, too risky. The original budget demand was $100 million, astronomical for a French director in the early 90s. The project died, production halted, cast and crew scattered. For years, it looked like The Fifth Element would remain nothing more than Besson's elaborate personal journal. But then, something incredible happened. Besson channeled his frustration into making Léon, The Professional, in 1994. That film's success, $45 million worldwide on a $16 million budget, proved he could deliver. Suddenly, studios were interested again. The Fifth Element was resurrected, but with a brutal condition. Cut the budget to $90 million and compress the trilogy into a single film. What we saw in theaters was just the center slice of a much bigger universe. The rest still lives in Besson's notebooks, waiting for a return trip that may never come. Secret number 3, the accidental casting that changed everything.
Come on, give me the cash.
Is that a Z140? Newer charge assault model.
Yeah?
Good thing for me it's not loaded.
To
push that little yellow button to load it.
Give me the cash!
Bruce Willis almost wasn't Korben Dallas. Besson's first choice was Mel Gibson, fresh off his Braveheart success. Gibson was interested, but Besson hesitated. Something felt wrong. Gibson's energy was too brooding, too intense. He needed someone who could handle chaos, but still crack a joke in the middle of it. Then fate intervened in the most Hollywood way possible. Besson was having lunch with Demi Moore when Willis happened to call about a different project. Besson asked to speak to him, just to say hello, and mentioned The Fifth Element was finally moving forward, but he'd decided to go with a cheaper leading man. After a short silence, Willis said 5 words that changed everything. "If I like the script, we can always come to an arrangement." 2 hours after reading it, Willis was in. He took a reduced salary up front and a percentage of profits. That gamble paid off spectacularly when the film made over $263 million worldwide. With Gibson, Dallas would have been darker and more serious. With Willis, the character became the reluctant hero with perfect comedic timing we remember today. Secret number 4, the favor that created cinema's most bizarre villain. Gary Oldman didn't audition for Zorg. He didn't chase the role. He barely read the script. He took it as a favor to Besson, who had helped finance Oldman's directorial debut, Nil by Mouth. But here's the shocking part. Oldman hated every minute of it. He later admitted he had no clue what the story was about and found the entire experience bewildering. When asked in 2014 about the film's cult status, he simply said, "Oh no, I can't bear it. That's just the wacky world we live in." Yet somehow, his confusion created magic. Not understanding the character, Oldman channeled Texas oil barons, cartoon villains, and pure theatrical madness into Zorg. He created one of sci-fi's most memorable antagonists, while openly despising the process. Secret number 5. The impossible casting search that found perfection. Over 8,000 actresses auditioned for Lilu. Elizabeth Berkley was among them, fresh off Showgirls. Established stars, rising talents, and complete unknowns all tried to capture this alien character, but none of them felt right. Then 21-year-old Milla Jovovich walked in. She didn't try to own the room or put on an alien act. She was simply herself, and Besson said it hit him instantly. She didn't seem like she was from France, America, or Earth. She looked like she belonged to the future, but here's the secret that nearly destroyed the production. Jovovich was initially rejected. At her first audition, she came overdressed and overmade up, trying to treat it like a modeling job. Besson passed on her immediately. Weeks later, by pure chance, he spotted her at a hotel pool without makeup. Seeing her natural state, he reconsidered and called her back. The second audition was bizarre. She danced with no rhythm, sang, and spoke in gibberish. She got the part not because she was polished, but because she was authentically otherworldly. Secret number 6. The scandalous love triangle that broke up a marriage.
Korben, my man, I have no fire. I said, you have any matches? I have no matches. I saw smoking in it. If I knew, Father, you smoke?
Now we get to the production's darkest secret. The alien diva who takes the stage in that mesmerizing opera scene, that was Maïwenn Lebesco, Luc Besson's wife. She initially refused to be in the film, believing married couples shouldn't work together. But when the original actress dropped out, she stepped in to save the production. What happened next destroyed their marriage. During filming, Besson began an affair with 19-year-old Milla Jovovich. Cast and crew watched as the director fell for his lead actress, while his wife performed in blue makeup and foam. Bruce Willis later revealed, "The real romance was between Luc and Milla. By the time I got to Paris, they were already smitten with each other." The triangle was devastating. Besson and Maïwenn quietly separated during production. 7 months after the film's premiere, Besson married Jovovich. The woman who played the key to saving the universe watched from the sidelines as her husband drifted toward a different kind of fifth element. The marriage to Jovovich lasted only 2 years, ending in 1999. But the emotional wreckage from the set lingers in every frame. You can feel it in the final cut. 2 luminous women, both unforgettable, each carrying a different kind of heartbreak. Secret number 7. The secret language of love. Besson and Jovovich didn't just create Lilu's alien language for the movie. They developed over 400 words together, refining and practicing it during long days on set. But as their off-screen relationship deepened, they started using it for something else entirely. Love letters and private notes that no one else on set could understand. Their secret alien language became their personal code, whispered between scenes and scribbled on paper. The romance didn't last, but the language did. Every syllable Jovovich speaks in the film isn't gibberish. It's fluent, practiced, and deeply personal. Alien on screen, intimate in real life. Secret number 8. The action star who did her own stunts.
We need to find the leader. Mangalores won't fight without the leader.
Send someone to negotiate.
Anybody else want to negotiate?
Where did he learn to negotiate like that?
I wonder.
While most action stars rely on stunt doubles, Milla Jovovich was determined to embody Lilu's every explosive movement herself. She trained relentlessly for months, learning fight choreography, wire work, and fast-paced combat with precision. That iconic corridor fight scene where Lilu destroys multiple armed guards, that wasn't CGI magic or a stunt double in a wig. That was Jovovich herself, contorting her body, throwing precise kicks, and enduring grueling takes. Her commitment was so intense, she risked bruises and injuries performing countless high-energy sequences. But here's the secret. Even Jovovich had limits. The highest kicks in the film were impossible for her to achieve. The solution was brilliantly analog. They used an artificial leg operated from just outside the frame, seamlessly edited with Jovovich's real movements to create superhuman agility. Secret number 9. The weapon that nearly burned down the set. Zorg's insane all-in-one superweapon wasn't just a prop. At least the flamethrower part actually worked. The effects team built a fully functional version complete with working flame jets. When they tested it, disaster struck. One blast went too high. Flames licked across the ceiling. Crew members scrambled for extinguishers as the fire threatened to consume the entire set. No one was hurt, but the message was clear. This production wasn't playing it safe. Even the fake weapons were genuinely dangerous. This perfectly captured Besson's approach to the entire film. He wanted everything to feel real, even if it meant actual danger. Secret number 10. The aliens who were slowly dying. The Mondo Shawan aliens in the opening sequence moved slowly not for dramatic effect, but because the actors inside were literally dying from heat exhaustion. Their 80-pound suits had thick foam, minimal ventilation, and no cooling systems. One performer collapsed mid-scene and had to be pulled out of the costume, rehydrated, and stabilized before they could continue filming. What looked like elegant alien choreography was actually survival, one heavy step at a time. Secret number 11. The costume that nearly killed Chris Tucker.
You got a message?
Yeah.
Not gonna open it could be important.
First one's from my wife, telling me she's leaving. Second one's from my lawyer, telling me he was leaving with my wife.
I bet your lunch. Come on. You are fired.
Ruby Raid's outrageous costume weighed 50 pounds and had a rigid spine that offered zero flexibility. Chris Tucker couldn't sit, couldn't lean forward, and could barely breathe. Between takes, he didn't rest in chairs. He leaned against walls, stood in corners, and sweated through entire shooting days without relief. But the costume torture was worth it. Tucker's physical discomfort actually enhanced his manic performance. Sometimes the most chaotic characters come from actors who can't even sit down. Secret number 12. The role Prince refused to wear. Before Chris Tucker made Ruby Rhod iconic, the role belonged to someone else entirely, Prince. Besson wanted the purple one from the beginning. The voice, the energy, the gender-bending swagger seemed perfect. Prince was intrigued. He agreed to meetings, liked the script, and said yes. Then he saw Jean-Paul Gaultier's costumes. Lace, mesh, plunging necklines, and high-arched heels. Fabrics that clung, colors that screamed louder than the character. Prince looked at the designs and said no. Too feminine, even for him. He backed out, leaving Besson scrambling for a replacement. Tucker stepped in with completely different energy. Younger, faster, more frantic than sultry. He channeled Michael Jackson's moves with Prince's style and turned Ruby Rhod into a high-speed scream machine. But you can still feel what almost happened, because Ruby wasn't written for Tucker. He was written for royalty. Secret number 13. The largest indoor explosion ever filmed.
Multipass.
Went. The opera hall exploded. That wasn't miniatures or green screen. It was a full-scale detonation inside a real structure. At the time, it was the largest indoor explosion ever captured on film. One shot, no resets, everything had to work perfectly, or the scene was lost forever. They had dozens of cameras, walls rigged to collapse, and fire marshals standing by. When it went off, it was flawless, chaotic, dangerous, and genuinely explosive. The fire was so intense it took 25 minutes to extinguish. In a movie full of wild ideas, this one literally went up in flames. Secret number 14. The hero and villain who never met. Here's something that breaks every action movie rule. Bruce Willis and Gary Oldman never share a single scene. Not once. Korben Dallas and Zorg exist in the same story, but never face each other, not even by accident. This wasn't due to scheduling conflicts. It was Besson's deliberate choice. He wanted the villain and hero to fight through ripple effects, not direct confrontation. Their paths orbit each other, interfere, but never collide. Willis finished filming before Oldman even started. The tension builds anyway, proving that sometimes the most powerful enemy is one who never sees you coming. Secret number 15. The film stock disaster that nearly destroyed the movie. In the pre-digital era, films were shot on actual film stock that had to be physically transported. Associate producer John Amicarella received a devastating call from LAX airport. Trash cans full of damaged film were waiting for him. The case carrying footage from the diva's opera scene had fallen from the plane and been run over by a forklift. That was the money shot. One of the film's most important sequences, potentially destroyed. Miraculously, they had just enough usable footage to cut the scene together. Amicarella worked for decades on dozens of films, but this disaster never happened to him again. The diva's performance survived by the thinnest of margins. Secret number 16, the impossible opera that couldn't be sung. The diva's otherworldly performance wasn't just beautiful, it was literally impossible. When composer Eric Serra showed soprano Inva Mula the sheet music for The Diva Dance, she laughed and said it couldn't be sung. Humans can't change notes that quickly. The solution was technological magic. Mula sang each note separately, then they were digitally stitched together to create the impossible performance. What sounds like one continuous alien aria is actually dozens of individual notes, meticulously assembled. The diva's voice is literally superhuman because no human voice could achieve it. Secret number 17, the future that refused to hide in shadows. Most sci-fi films live in darkness. Shadowy ships, moody corridors, murky lighting. Besson wanted none of that. He said the future didn't have to be cold. It could be loud, chaotic, and alive. So instead of hiding imperfections in darkness, he lit most scenes in full daylight. Taxi chases under blue skies, gunfights in sterile white corridors, orange explosions over golden clouds. It was risky, exposing every costume and effect to harsh scrutiny, but that was the point. He wanted audiences to see the future, not squint at it. In doing so, he broke one of sci-fi's oldest rules and made the genre shine instead of brood. Secret number 18. The French film that spoke English to survive. The Fifth Element was a French production, funded by French studios, directed by a French visionary. Yet it was filmed entirely in English, not for style, but for survival. Besson knew that to make a film this weird, this colorful, this expensive, he needed global reach. So he cast American stars, hired British crews, and shot at Pinewood Studios in London. At the time, it was the most expensive film France had ever produced, but to get worldwide audiences, it had to speak the language of blockbusters. The gamble worked. 75% of its $263 million gross came from outside America, making it the highest-grossing French film worldwide until 2011. Secret, just 19, the costume designer who dressed a galaxy. Jean-Paul Gaultier didn't just design a few standout pieces. He built over 1,000 costumes by hand. Every alien race had its own aesthetic code, its own silhouettes, fabrics, and rules. Even background characters who appeared for 2 seconds wore one-of-a-kind pieces. Gaultier personally adjusted hundreds of extras' costumes daily to ensure everything looked perfect. It wasn't just fashion, it was world-building, stitched into every seam. Secret number 20, the catchphrase that conquered the internet. Multipass wasn't meant to be a catchphrase, just a throwaway line. But Jovovich's mispronounced broken English delivery made it unforgettable. Audiences quoted it, mimicked it, and turned it into memes before memes existed. Today, Multipass appears in video games like Borderlands and Cyberpunk 2077, not as plot devices, but as tributes to one of sci-fi's weirdest cult classics. One word said 5 different ways, still echoing 27 years later. Closing, the beautiful chaos that shouldn't have worked. The Fifth Element was too loud, too strange, too bright, too French. Critics didn't know what to do with it, but fans did. They clung to the chaos, memorized the lines, and fell in love with a movie that felt like it was made on a dare. Besson started writing it at 16, but it never really stopped growing. Now, it lives on in conventions, video games, fan tattoos, and fluorescent fever dreams. A sci-fi cult film built not on perfection, but on imagination that refused to stay quiet. What started as one lonely teenager's escape became a $263 million global phenomenon that still influences movies today. Sometimes the best films aren't the ones that follow the rules. They're the ones brave enough to light a match and let it burn. If The Fifth Element still lives rent-free in your mind, drop a comment below. And if you want more shocking secrets from cinema's most controversial cult classics, make sure you're subscribed because we're just getting started.